Good afternoon. Howdy, partners. Elaine Bartlett here saying it's lovely to spend this next hour with you, and thank you for tuning in to share it with me. It's all about sharing these days, so I'm delighted when I know that you are tuning in and sharing it with other like-spirited people who could benefit from just either an expansion of their wonderful spirit or validation that they're intact and all is well. And with that, I want to give a special shout out to someone who's up in northern New Jersey in a lovely town called Montclair. And I give a shout out to Ardith because I am so proud of you, Ardith, for figuring out how to listen to me. Bravo, kid. Very well done. And Ardith sent me just a lovely little walk down memory lane this morning. When I had opened my shops in the northern New Jersey area, my very talented and artistic son made a logo for me, which was a dragon carrying a pear between his paws, because my last name is Bartlett, and if you need me to explain the connection between Bartlett and pear, you have been living under a bigger stone than I have. But Ardith had this lovely, she found a bag with the logo on it, and it triggered such happy thoughts, and it was a good time in our lives, Ardith, and you participated so well, helping me out often. So a big hug and a thank you to Ardith. And a big hug to all of my friends today who are celebrating Passover. Under the law of oneness, I fully believe we are all at the essence, the exact same origin and source energy. So all of us should be celebrating Passover today, and most particularly those who grew up learning and appreciating all of the traditions and celebrating them. So happy Passover. It is also a full moon day today, so we got a lot to talk about there. But I really do have to say very clearly, you are tuned into the show called The Purple Portal. And if you need to reach me by email, that address is purpleportal777@gmail.com. I actually do hear from many of you via that email. So please feel free to reach out with questions. And if you have determined after these many, many weeks of me mentioning the 4 pillars, and you would like to order the 4 pillars, that will be a mighty $10. Now, it's just the infrastructure. I mean, it's the whole 4 pillars, but there's no diagnosis with it. That being said, they're still extremely helpful when I say something like, which like I'm going to say right now, we are in Wood Dragon Month. So you could be thinking, well, I know I'm not a dragon, I'm a rabbit. Yes, but with your 4-pillar printout, you could at least scan and see, is there any mention of wood dragon in those pillars? Because it's very clearly identified. What that translates to is anytime there's wood anywhere in your 4 pillars, the object of the game is to learn pliability and sensitivity and let go of your fixations and opinions and judgments and pushing against, because wood can be way too rigid. So this month, in a dragon month, which is all about transition and therefore transformation, you have the opportunity to, see a little more clearly, how deeply is this wood piece encoded in your energy field? Sometimes I will say to a person with loving jest in a consultation, whoa, there's a little bit of resistance or stubbornness in your nature. And invariably, the person's quite proud of that until I talk to them about the ramifications of pushing against and why you might want to soften that approach. Last week, between when I spoke here last week and this week, I actually started up again in a class on Qigong. Those of you who have no idea what Qigong is, you need to be going to YouTube and learn a little bit about it. It's moving all of the energy in your body. And ordinarily in these classes, there's a lot of women and a few men sprinkled throughout. Well, there happened to be after this class, and it was a daytime class, which makes it even more unusual for a gentleman to be in. And there was a gentleman in there, and after the class, he came up and introduced himself to me, and he stuck out his hand, and we had the exchange of a handshake. And I had already caught wind by things he was saying that he had been very sick for a number of years. And the sickness was tumors on different organs. And he, as he stuck out his hand, he said, "My name is Will. And I have changed over the last 6 years willfulness into willingness. And I admit to a very big paradigm shift." This was said with such humility. There was no trickery in it. There was no double entendre of meaning. He was very sincere. I said, "How did you do this?" He pointed to the Qigong instructor and very graciously said, "Between her working with me and my changing my nutrition 100%, I have shifted everything." And apparently just the day before or early that morning, very recently apparently, he had yet another scan. Tumors seemed to be among the missing, and it was all this nonsense was reduced to one small cyst that he was fully accountable for and bent on that's going to go too. But the big way he did this was he shifted, and he was so accountable. He accounted for his own willfulness. I thought, how cool is that? That takes humility. That takes contemplation. That takes being reduced to nothing. And I sure will better look at changing my whole concept of reality. And that's what he did. I can't tell you how uplifting it was, even though I was completely exhausted from the workout that I had just had. But it was really cool to see. So if you need to call in during this hour, the number is 321. I take that back. There's no need on my planet anymore. If you would enjoy calling in and sharing, the number is 321-806-3159. Once again, that's 321, because we're on the Space Coast, and that gives us a right to blast off into 806-3159. So you have a couple of ways to reach me: email, phone in here, go to my website. It would behoove you to continue to look at my website. I don't change it every month, but the services that I offer are right there. They're helpful services. They approach different aspects of what's occurring in your life. So check it out. All right, now we're going to get on with what I'm talking about today. I will briefly touch the full moon because it's still full on in effect. It actually, on the eastern seaboard, it occurred about 2 o'clock this morning. West Coast, it was a different time zone. It was last night. But for us on this coast, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. So what's happened with this full moon is it was triggering an aspect of a Venus square with Saturn. And this is a very difficult interaction between the heart, Venus, and Saturn, the big ticket teacher. So I'm going to take a deep breath and just say hi to the caller on the line. Hi there.
Hi, Elaine. It's Jean from Northern Jersey.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How'd you do with this full moon?
Well, the full moon is coming at a time, and I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to quote supposed to be feeling, but I am definitely in a transition, and so I just felt the need to give you a call.
Excellent, good stuff. All right, I think part of your transition is something that I'll actually be talking about rather extensively after you hang up. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you just a little window into it. Jean, a lot is being triggered now. Very challenging lessons all the month of the dragon, which does not end until May 5th. And it's bringing challenges in our sense of worth, self-worth, self-esteem, love, relationships, intimacy, our emotional well-being, our sympathetic nervous system, all things with money and finances, the whole female principle, all of this is actually being triggered. Did any one of those things hit on some of your trigger points?
Probably the financial, because I've left my day job to take on my new venture, or to get fully dive deeper into what I really want to do. And although I feel that it's the right thing and only good will come of it, you go through your ups and downs of being concerned and worried.
The only persons who can really appreciate that are people who have had the courage and are brave enough to have stepped out in that sort of entrepreneurial modality.
Right.
So people who are receiving the paycheck based on 9 to 5, they'll nod off because they actually can't quite relate to the predicament. But I sure can relate to it. Jean, do you possibly remember what you are in, what piece of the Bagua you are?
I don't know what a Bagua is.
Okay, tell me your year of birth.
1960.
Okay, and you're not born in January. I think you're born in summertime, right?
Yeah, July. I'm a rat.
Okay. Oh, okay, so here we have, you are Kun, which is southwest. That rings a bell, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And that southwest energy, this cycle, interestingly enough, has a challenging star on it for until May, all right? And the star brings very unsettled feelings, and you'd have to be careful that you don't get thinking you've made a mistake. The number 1 star is in the center of the flying stars for the year. This would trigger fear in you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, I'd rather know what are the trigger points rather than just blindly, be a pig in a poke here. So just understand that you are learning to face the fear, look at it, not to energize it, and not get fixated on it. Did you just leave your day job